So Ghost of Tsushima 2 was just announced, and it's not called Ghost of Tsushima 2, nor is Jin Sakai returning as the lead. It's called Ghost of Yōtei, and the new protagonist, well, it's a girl. And I'm here to tell you why. After some very careful thought, I actually think that this might be a brilliant move by Sucker Punch Studios. Because this change might mean that PlayStation are creating their own version of the Assassin's Creed franchise. With Ghost of Tsushima, I never actually thought of the idea that it could evolve into something more than just being about Jin Sakai, but instead become a franchise centered around the fantasy of being the ghost. Let me explain. My initial reaction to this announcement was rather negative. I first got goosebumps because I knew it was Ghost of Tsushima 2 from the start. But then the new protagonist got revealed, and at first I thought it might be a dual protagonist thing, but no, it's a whole new solo protagonist called Atsu. And it takes place in 1603, 300 years after Jin Sakai's adventure, and in the region surrounding the mysterious Mount Yōtei. My first thought was, wow, this is really disappointing because I really wanted to play as Jin again, but then I realized why I felt this way. When I played Ghost of Tsushima for the first time, besides it just being a great game on its own right, it gave me something that another franchise I once loved used to give me: the assassin fantasy. Assassin's Creed has evolved into a shadow of what it once was. It left behind stealth and linearity in favor of RPG mechanics and open-ended design, with basically no emphasis on even including the Creed in their games anymore. But when I played Ghost of Tsushima, I got transported into a game and a world that felt like I was playing what I always wished Assassin's Creed would be today. A game solely focused on stealth and building the legend of the Ghost. A better Assassin's Creed game than the actual Assassin's Creed games. Naturally, after completing the first game, I was really excited for what was to come, never really realizing what Sucker Punch was actually planning in the background. From the start, the Ghost was always intended to be anyone, much like the Assassin's Creed games, where almost every new Assassin's Creed game has a new protagonist assassin. I actually remember when Assassin's Creed 2 got announced and Altair was nowhere to be seen. Instead, this new character, Ezio, would be the new protagonist. People were very skeptical, but then, obviously, Assassin's Creed 2 was amazing, and that became the new formula. This became the pattern so much so that the unveiling of the new assassin is always at the forefront of the marketing of the latest Assassin's Creed game. A new assassin for every game. Sucker Punch said the following in a statement about Ghost 2. We set out to make a brand new Ghost game. We wanted to maintain the core pillars established in Ghost of Tsushima, playing as a wandering warrior in feudal Japan, offering freedom to explore at your own pace, and highlighting the beauty of this world. We also wanted to continue to innovate, to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story and the island of Tsushima, and shifted our focus to the idea of the Ghost instead. At Sucker Punch, we love origin stories, and we wanted to explore what it could mean to be a new hero wearing a ghost mask, and uncovering a new legend. This led us to Ghost of Yōtei. A new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore. The Ghost has become the assassin from Assassin's Creed, a new protagonist with a new story but carrying the same fundamental values and ambition of the first Ghost, Jin Sakai. PlayStation has a franchise and story problem. They create these amazing characters, but once their story is completed, we never get to see or play a game in that franchise ever again. The idea of getting another Uncharted game with Nathan Drake as the main protagonist, it just seems unlikely because his arc in Uncharted 4 is complete. That is why Assassin's Creed has become the juggernaut and brand that it is. A new story and a new protagonist releasing every 3 years because the franchise isn't tied to just one protagonist. With Ghost of Tsushima, I never actually thought of the idea that it could evolve into not just being about Jin Sakai, but instead become a franchise centered around the fantasy of being the Ghost. Now, going online, I've seen mixed reaction to this, but overall I think it's a brilliant step in making a longer lasting franchise. Jin Sakai's story and character arc from the first game was also completed if you really think about it. By the end of the narrative, we fully embraced becoming the Ghost, and Jin became this legend. With the DLC, they took the idea even further, so much so that I don't actually think there is much story left to tell with Jin. It was actually one of my biggest concerns going into the reveal of the next Ghost game. What story could they tell? This is also not me saying there was 100% no new story to tell, but rather saying that at the very least, we got a full character arc for Jin Sakai, and we're not left with a game that ended on a cliffhanger. Instead, going into this new game with a brand new Ghost actually makes me excited for the potential that this franchise has. Think about it in this way, the third game could literally take place anywhere and in any time period. It could take place in a modern Japan, for example, with a ghost roaming the bustling modern streets hunting targets in a neon-lit Japan. It could journey outside of Japan, explore how the ghost's legend grew in Italy, Greece, or wherever. My point is that this announcement doesn't mean the end of Jin Sakai, but instead the start of the ghost legend becoming bigger than Jin, much like the Assassin's Creed grew bigger than Altair. I'd even go so far as to say that my least favorite part of Ghost of Tsushima was actually Jin Sakai. His character arc was great and fun to watch, but his personality was rather bland, and I did not find him as a character nearly as fun as it was just playing him. Instead, I actually immersed myself way more in just wearing masks and outfits, completely erasing Jin from the picture, instead focusing on growing and becoming this legendary ghost. That's why this announcement, after some real careful thought, actually really excites me. It leans into everything that I personally loved about the first game. If you think about it, the ghost is kind of like Batman now, because anyone can wear the mask, and that makes the legend so much more intriguing. Who is the ghost this time? How does he or she reincarnate itself into this new time period and save the helpless? I think it's fascinating, but I do have a few concerns from the first game that I really hope get addressed in this latest entry. The game looks beautiful, as is to be expected. Ghost of Tsushima was already a really stunning game, but I really hope they improve the facial animations because they were rough in the first game. And also make a few more explorable larger cities. I would love to explore the idea of social stealth in a game like this, but so far the trailer only showed landscapes. With Ghost of Tsushima, I felt the open world could have felt more dynamic, with more random events happening, and less of the same enemy type spawning as you save the same captive for the 200th time. Story-wise, I really hope there's a little bit more than just the standard revenge plot. The wolf they showed in the trailer could indicate the addition of companions, and the concept of that could be cool, but does that also mean then that the ghost is going to start leaning into more mythical things, being able to control animals and so forth? I certainly hope not, because I really like the realistic aspect of Ghost of Tsushima, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I love the western feel of this trailer, and I hope they lean into that feeling the most, because I love the idea that every new Ghost game comes with an entirely new vibe. I lastly hope that the female protagonist is well written. I don't care about gender, let me just make that a point. I just want the character to be good. Overall, I actually really think this is a brilliant step in the right direction, and I'm so happy we'll actually be getting a continuation of the Ghost franchise, and hopefully this just means that they will be making more Ghost games in the future. I also think that Ubisoft is shaking in their boots after this announcement. With rumors of a possible Shadows delay, we could be seeing Shadows and Ghost 2 go head to head. And I am afraid to admit it, but I can with almost 100% certainty say that for me, Ghost 2 will probably win that fight. So what are your thoughts on the announcement? Are you upset that we can't play as Jin Sakai anymore? Are you upset about the gender of the new protagonist? Let's chat, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to watch something else, I have this God of War Ragnarok 2 years later that I recently released, I think you'll also like.